Hello guys and welcome back to TNT Madness. Today we're going to be looking at how to make a faction base from scratch. So I'm pretty sure 99% of faction players know how to build some sort of base, and maybe they can do it well. Maybe they know regen walls, normal walls, really just pretty much any wall, but actually building your base is one of the most painful things to do in factions, as half the time it can take weeks to build your base depending on how big your team is, how big your base is. So that means people can find your base and can screw up your building process. So to prevent that, I'm going to be showing you the best possible way to actually build your base and make it so you have the least hassle, so you can actually get your base finished and properly made, just so you can do it. You don't have to go by these exact rules, but it really applies to pretty much any base and any building strategy, and I will be definitely using these on myself as I've made these same mistakes in the past. So let's actually have a look at how to do this. So to start off with, what you want to do is lay out the foundation of your base. You don't just want to build this offhand, you want to actually claim all the land that you need for your base. It can be a 3x3 area, it can be a 10x10 area, it can be a 20x20 area. It doesn't really matter. For this one we're just going to be building a very small base which will be in 3x3 chunks. For some people that may be large, but when you're making a big faction base that will be accounting for several players, and at the rate cannons, how powerful they are, especially of one-shot cannons, you definitely want to build big bases with big defenses. But for this one, for the sake of the video, we're just going to be building a pretty basic base in a very small area on our 3x3 chunk slime farm. So what you want to do is lay out your foundation, claim all the land, make sure you claim all your land before so, or you might be stuck in a situation where people can actually build inside your land or claim it, and that would not be fun. So just claim all your land first and make sure you lay out your whole area. If you're in like the end where the layer is one bedrock, then just put a giant ring around the very edge so that you can actually have the very outline of your base. So that is actually quite simple, but it is a very fundamental start. So now probably the most important thing to do when you're actually building a base, and that is to build what is called a water curtain. And these are insanely important because essentially all they are is just a giant curtain of water which no one can really get through because it's just water. People can shoot straight through with their cannons, but that's not their purpose. They can't destroy it per se. And it really stops what is called cobble monsters, which essentially stops people from completely destroying your base, or saves you 10 hours of trying to get rid of that cobble monster, or wasting your entire time that you spent building this. So cobble monsters are extremely frustrating, and they're essentially just where you place water and lava on top of each other, so you make a giant mess, and then you just do that so it can take you like 5 minutes to build a 50 high one, and that can span like 20 chunks. It's not fun. I don't really like that they exist in the game, but they are fundamental and they can be really fun to annoy someone else. But before you even start building your base, build a water curtain before you do anything else, because if someone does cobble monster you and you're only at the stage where you have only laid out the groundwork, then you can just move. Unless you have a corner claim, then you're probably stuffed. But it is super important that you build a water curtain. I cannot emphasize this enough. Most people don't do it, especially on my server where I've seen some people, but just, it's so incredibly important. It's just one of those fundamental things that you have to do, because if you don't, you'll learn really fast that you have to do it. So now on to the next part, but before I get into this, I have a tutorial on how you can build water curtains, but they're very simple to make. You just build up to height limit with a giant ring around your base, and then you just place water on top of it or below it, and then just get rid of your ring. The only thing you have to worry about is make sure it's 3 wide, so that way it cannot be turned into obsidian. So they're very, very simple to make, to be honest. It's just a giant ring of water, or a giant curtain of water. So the next thing you want to do is lay out what you're going to be building for your base. And this is also extremely important because you could spend hours building your whole base, realize that you've had one block off, and have to pretty much redo your whole base. And the great thing about this is if something doesn't look right when you're placing down your scaffolding and your building materials, then you can change it without suffering. So this is very important. So for an example of here, what I'd recommend doing is figure out the size of your base. You can do this last, or you can do this first, and then figure out how you're going to lay out the rest of your base. So what I tend to do is I like to put like the most powerful sort of defense around the start, whether it be like an anti-nuclear wall, which is more than an anti-nuclear wall, at least my one is, or like regen walls or something like that, For this, we are just going to be using basic region walls, but there's the strongest wall here, and the further the wall is in, the harder it is for a cannon to destroy it. So that is the whole purpose of a wall, is to delay people from actually getting into your base. So for this base, just put that in the very center, and then I've got this logical layout, which, because of the size of my base, I've just got it so you've got 2 essential region walls on the very end, because if I didn't do this, then I would have probably screwed up when I was building the region walls, that I would have shot it off somehow. So the next thing that I've done is I've just pretty much made the rest normal walls, and then made the last one a sand wall, which is going to be later a checker box, because then if someone does raid your in base or the edge of your base, then you can see if someone's raided you. So that's very, very great. And the great thing is, after this, if you do want to expand, you could just continue placing more walls, which most people tend to do because it's a solid defense anyway. So now that we've got through pretty much the most important parts, it's time to actually start building your base. So this is the part where you want to lay out your scaffolding. Build your main core of your box. You don't have to build this straight away, but you want to work inwards to outwards, and you want to make it as easy for you to build your walls as possible. Like, for example, with region walls, here we have made the shells of it, but we haven't done the most tedious part, which is fill them inside of lava, and this is one of my favorite ways to actually make it easier to build. So you just place like a block along here so the water doesn't actually generate this outer circle, and then you can go ahead and place all the lava in, and then when you go to the very top to actually generate it, all of this will be lava, so it'll automatically generate anyway. I've got a tutorial on this, but it's not the best, but it's still very nice to do this. And you can build your first walls, but I would also recommend that you actually build your scaffolding first. So for example, if you have these, then you can start building your scaffolding for all of these walls. But in this example, we don't have all the space for that because we need to place down a ton of lava. So it'd be good to finish like the shell of this, then build your next scaffolding, then finish these walls, and then build the rest of the walls. So yeah. So these last 2 stages are pretty much tied in very closely together. So now that you've pretty much finished your whole base and built all of your walls, you want to leave the most tedious, well, not really the tedious parts, but just the add-on bits to last. Like for example, this would be a case where you'd add the actual checker box bit and your roof defense. So you want to make sure that you have all your walls built first, because your roof defense is going to be your last defense, because people only really go for attacking your roof or reverse or something if you have really strong defense. So there's no point doing it first if you don't have any defense and they can just pummel through that anyway. And it's extremely important that you do not do any interiors or even start building inside your base. Preferably don't even stick anything precious inside your base, even if it's just like a diamond, because then people will have an incentive to raid you. So there's no point of doing that at all. So for this example, finish building all the walls and the region walls before we started anything else, and then after you've done that, you can come over here and just not come over here specifically, but you can go ahead and finish your roof defense, which I've got the double slab defense here, which is solid defense. It's not the best, but of course this is all basic defense. Then I've made a checker box, which has seemed to broke, but essentially how a checker box works, if I go ahead and grab a redstone torch and some redstone, is when you place down, it'll be a solid stone of redstone. I cannot play Minecraft properly. I hate Enderman. But that's exactly what I'm talking about, is you can figure out if you're rated or not. Bugger off. Is you can figure out if you're rated or not, whether this is turned off or not. Don't tell me he's... No. I honestly hate Endermen. So as long as you're playing on a game world where Endermen are disabled, you should be fine. Oh my god. Oh my god. Okay, this is besides the point, but essentially what you want to do is you want to make, and now it's raining. So, as I was saying before I got interrupted by a spastic Enderman, is you want to just do all your stuff last. So now that we've done this, we have done our roof defense, we've done our checker box, and I have just used the extra space that we had on the water curtain, which would have been extremely tedious if we had done it first, is I just turned it into a wall because we have the space, so why not? So the most important thing is just to leave the basic stuff, or not the basic stuff, but just the things that aren't really needed, like roof defense, reverse defense, which is stuff you stick on the bottom of your base so people can't attack you there, checker boxes, extra walls. You just want to get all your basic stuff done before you work on anything else. And I will be using this in pretty much any further base I build, especially in the one I build in map 3 on TMFactions. So that is pretty much this. I hope this helped anyone, and if it did inform you a bit, then please like the video. But anyway, goodbye from TNT